So we are now going to start on a new technique called pre-shading, that we could also call pre-highlighting, but its name is not very important. It consists simply of giving a guide during the process of blending, with a little bit of bright white coming from that direction and angle to start giving a kind of highlight and to make the paint work easier and to better visualize the area where the light comes from. I'm starting to paint the model with a dark and opaque color, more opaque than if I used the glazes or other classic blending techniques. So in this case it's going to be dark green because the model's flesh will be green. The technique of pre-shading is really useful for models of large size who pick up the light well. For example, on this one the belly comes out and is really round, as is the face, the hands up top of the thigh and everything. So the model has many large protruding round areas that are likely to pick up the light well. If a model is too flat, for example this one, let's imagine it unpainted, well, the pre-shading is not optimal. That is to say, except for the shoulders and arms, the model is the same and is not open to light to let the pre-shading be visible. Even more so, considering the model has a lot of metallic parts, and the pre-shading is not useful to paint metals, but rather matte parts like details, clothes, skin, and other non-metallic surfaces. Pre-shading can be more directed. For example, if I wish a side to be lighter than the other side, I can pre-shade it. Or if the angle of my pre-shading follows the brush, this area will be more highlighted than this one, which is hidden from the axis from which the spray is coming. It's possible to base coat a model in black and to pre-shade it then, but it's very inconvenient, and it doesn't work well for me when blending. Because the base coat basically would be gray and lack some kind of richness in the colors. By doing the pre-shading on the color, which is the final color of the area, the green pigments will come out under the layer and will help with the blending. Obviously, if by any means the model has other large areas, well, I could have painted the base coat of this large area too. The pre-shading is optimal on large parts, and it isn't relatively useful for me to paint the armlets in a dark color, because the pre-shading will not be visible in those small areas. So I'm not going to apply paint only from a unique point of zenithal light, like here. It's going to be a general lighting coming from the top, which means that I will not have one square angle, but a small angle of 30 degrees, only bathing the model in zenithal light. A little bit of light on the front side will hit some parts like the thigh and the belly. There. So here again, it's experience and practice that allows you to know the right proportion and how to direct the spray as much as the quantity and axis from which you spray. So, here the model is pre-shaded. We can notice that if we look under the model, there are some dark areas, dark green, that were not touched by the base coat. If we look at it from the top, we notice that this area has received more undercoat and has small dots of white paint due to the spray. And then we understand how it gives us a guideline for zenithal light. So now the objective will be to blend from light green to dark green with some tones on this base. This base is a track. It's a guideline to help us apply the highlights, making the blending easier. Some painters have difficulty with this technique, whatever their level, but others use it very well and find that it's really helpful. I'm part of the last one. The advantage to have green and not black in the pre-shading is to have green in the shadows, and when we'll glaze, it will be a green color that corresponds to the flesh color that will show through, and not a gray color. So for me, it's saving time. And it's also a way to have color tones which are more accurate, moving towards the final color I want. Now I'm going to proceed exactly as if I had done a white undercoat with a normal base coat. So I'm going to apply a succession of colored layers of different brightness and of different colors for my blending. Always the same thing, so use the same parameters for dilution, pushing, washes, glazes, and crossing the strokes. And be careful with the jump between colors as well as the difference in actual color. All these different aspects need to be kept in mind when painting. So from now on, the technique of using successive washes will be the one I'll use. The pre-shading is not well suited for pre-shading is not adapted to the midway technique, which is easier to do on an opaque surface. One of the most delicate aspects of the pre-shading is that a lot of painters who try this technique will see at the end of their blending those small white dots. So we have to stop the blending only when they'll be totally covered, as in normal painting techniques. You'll see me starting the blending, and then the video will be put on quick motion so that you can see all the process for the blending of the belly, and you'll see that it doesn't alter from the technique we already saw.